Thanks everybody for coming to our last lecture in the first semester of our fourth. I'm very pleased to have not only a guest lecturer here today, but the love of my life, Gail, to share her experience of our work at the Cannabis Buyers Club. I've been running the club pretty much 14 years now, and I can and do go on about my work and experience. And no doubt we'll be teaching other lectures in the future on the subject, but it's my privilege to have Gail here to share her experience coming into our club and seeing what it's become today. And with no further ado, here she is.
Hi, thanks for coming, everybody. As you know, the club started in 1996, and I'm not going to get into all that because you can watch last year's lecture that Ted taught on YouTube. And if you go through the Hempology website, you can also, if you want to see what the really early days about life in the apartment was like, there's a little movie called What's Up, Ted on the forums. It's a little movie that he made to send to his mom for Christmas one year to show him what his life was like. Yeah, so it's, I don't like time is short, and I don't like repeating a lot of stuff, so that's all Ted's specialty, and he's asked me to talk about the club and the short time that I've been a part of it. So I joined the club in 2003, so 6 years ago. It's been quite a whirlwind since then. I came to the club because I had to leave my home on Salt Spring, and I heard about compassion clubs in Victoria being raided and busted, and I thought that was just not cool at all, and so I had to find them and get involved somehow, because I was sort of doing the same thing on Salt Spring by myself as a way of recovering from my illnesses that I talked about in other lecture series too, so I don't want to get into that either. It was quite interesting when I was trying to join the club. I heard about the Cannabis Buyers Club and the VIX through the newspapers, and there wasn't anything too specific in the newspapers on how to get a hold of them, but they're asking and trying to do a little bit of tracking. I finally found both of the clubs and tried to join them both, and was successful at joining the Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, because my doctor was willing to send over my paperwork to prove I had a permanent physical condition, but he wasn't willing to recommend the use of cannabis because he'd taken over from another doctor. The long story. And most doctors are kind of reluctant to do that unless they've known you for a long time. So just about right from the start, it was always a very busy little club. I was in not good shape myself because I was sort of homeless on and off through the first 3 years that I was a part of the club. I said I had to leave home, and then I was having difficulties with the provincial disabilities because they kept trying to make me go home. So I was in a lot of distress. I was indeed cut off my disability for three separate occasions for 3 years. So the support that I found from my fellow members was it was, I don't know what I would have done to it. Basically kept me off the streets, which I was doing. I was trying to make a living selling God's eyes and peace signs that I made really shitty at panhandling. So that wasn't working very well. And I met some other friends that were also members of the club. And when I first joined, there was a very limited amount of cookies. I'm a cookie monster too. We had about 5 or 6 different types of cookies, but they were all one kind of cookie. Like they were all made of leaf, and then we had Buddha balls, which absolutely saved my life. For a year and a half, I ate a Buddha ball every day. It was what I lived on besides dried beans from the food banks. It was great because they're complete protein. It's all the protein you need for a day. So, and we had one massage oil and a regular salve that you make by just putting beeswax into the massage oil. You can see on my other lectures about the products. So between keeping me alive by keeping me fed and all of the emotional support that I received at the time, the club right from the beginning, it was like a family to me, almost more of a supportive family than the one that I grew up with, in different funny ways. One of my friends knew that I was a good baker, that I had a long history with cannabis, and knew the trouble that I was in, and she was very persistent with bugging Ted about letting me bake, and he was very persistent about not letting me bake because he already had a baker. And I finally won the argument in saying that there's nothing worse than being stoned on good pot baking than having only more good pot baking to eat and not regular cookies, so you don't get more stoned. You just have something else to eat. So at that point he finally caved, and he gave me a little shelf in the corner of the distribution room that I started making Super Crisp and dried fruit and selling them. So
what is Super Crisp?
They're like a Rice Krispie square, only with trail mix in them and different kinds of organic puff grain, not just rice. And so they were really good for you, except the marshmallows. And non-medicinal, so I wasn't interfering with the other products at the club. And so that was the first income that I'd had in quite a long time, and that helped a lot. And I started, the club was really kind of just barely scraping along because Ted was hardly ever there. He was not actually allowed in the club because of the police raids. And that was part of his probation, that he was not allowed to go. So I realized that he was kind of depressed and lonely sitting up there. We used to try to sit there and what can we phone him about? Has anybody phoned Ted yet today? So we all try to make a phone call every day to him, and things like that. It was always lots of fun. Oh.
How perfect. Well done, Ted.
Very fun.
No, jump ahead, I'll get back to it. Remind me about a phone call later.
Okay.
The story I don't want to bounce around too much. So he let me have the space, and by then I was out looking after my dad, who had a couple acres in Saanich, and we had a lot of fruit, so I dried fruit and I started selling fruit leather as well in my little corner. It was really neat. And then, so there was basically like 2 people working all day, the front desk and the distribution, and so if we were lucky, there was a 3rd person to maybe do paperwork and sign people up and things like that. So a lot of stuff wasn't getting done. And they said we really relied heavily on volunteers, and there wasn't a lot of volunteers, so I figured that was the niche that I could fill because I had a lot of time, and I liked drawing and things like that. So besides doing the baking, I started making posters for the club whenever there was a special